him to be forced into this position. I don't want him to have another choice of where to fight me, because when I fight him there, I'll be at the advantage. I can then focus on my macro, focus on cowing, getting my economy up, and just microing my army, instead of having to divide my attention between here, 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 and multiple locations, as well as cowing, which I'm a bit disappointed that he hasn't been as active about that. As British, one of the ways you can get ahead of your opponent is to always be cowing and always have them training and being gathered. It gives you such a massive amount of food that it can just keep you that 200 points, that 100 points ahead of your opponent in economy. Portuguese has the advantage that they don't have to focus on things like that, so they can just focus on micromanaging their army, and that's always an advantage for them. Also, he has not sent the cavalry combat or advanced arsenal cards yet. Why has he not sent these cards? I already detailed why you should always send advanced arsenal. Send it. Oh, thank you, God. He's listening to me through time and space. But anyway, your general card order with British should be that you send the cavalry combat, the cavalry attack and damage cards, and you should already have advanced arsenal out before 40. Why do I say to send the cav cards first? Because cavalry is your flanking tool. It's how you can deal with artillery on a dime and control your opponent's ability to just abuse the map. Also, in this position, because they're in such limited spots, I would not disapprove of making 2 or 3 horse guns because his opponent is so infantry heavy. Since his opponent can't really flank him, it would be advantageous to make the horse guns now. And now we see that it's really kind of condensing into that area, because Milky's been aggressive about taking out this position, these cav, but yeah. Aside from that, again, goons at the back, good. They're not running out in the front. I would probably bring my riflemen back behind my muskets and then push up my muskets a little bit. Since this is his wall, I would also put a gate in here so that he has a wider area to flank. Right now his cav has to go through here. If there was a gate here, he can go through this area. It means he can get a better arc on these skirmishers right off the bat. Always important. I like that StormComing is trying to open up flanks by beating them with mortars, but he's not really abusing it, so it might be a better idea to push these up to here and try and pressure the fort base. I do like that he is trying to use mortars to keep Milky from just having an FB in his face. That's always good. Ooh, Milky needs to micro these culverins so they don't die for nothing. Good. He's using them effectively. And see, now Milky rewalled this, and he can't exploit that flank anymore. He should have been abusing that the second it was opened up. If you make a hole, use it. Always use your holes. That sounded wrong. I didn't mean for it to sound that way. Sorry about that. But yeah, this is overall going pretty good for Milky now, though. His score is behind, but if he actually begins to focus on cowing, which, hint hint, with all these sheep and all these cows, just come back here, box all these vills, click a sheep, box some vills, click a cow. It's better than leaving them on mills, because they're going to gather the cows faster than they will the mills. Milky needs a couple of mortars as well for this push, and he needs to just keep making units. I can't stress enough how just staying near max is so powerful. Likely is going to flub up. They're going to make a mistake, and if you're just constantly near max, it's so hard for them to deal with you because it feels like they just can't do anything. All these culls, keep them. Here's a good tip with culls. Until you need them, keep them at the back, because here they're gonna take shots occasionally that they don't need to take. If you have him at the back and he brings calves up, let him set up his calves first, then bring yours in and shoot. You get the advantage then, because his likely will fire a shot before yours, and then you're just at the advantage. I would push these calves over here and try and deal with these mortars as well. That way he doesn't get screwed. Good, he's doing that. Pull your longbows back to here. Because longbows have 26 range, you can have them back here. And in fact, I would encourage that. And you can have your goons right next to them. It's always good to take advantage of that range advantage as British, because your units are just so good at range. Boxing all his units. If you're not going to control group, at least double click muskets, double click these, and try and move units individually. I'd prefer if you control group, like you have muskets on 1, you have longbows on 2, Huss on 3, dragoons on 4, because then you can quickly say 1, muskets go up here, 2, longbows go back here, 3, Huss go around the side, 4, dragoons go back here, that kind of thing. And then I would put your barracks and stables and all those kinds of unit production facilities on their own hotkeys. One good tip is to remap 6 through 9 to F1 through 4. That way you can put your barracks, stables, and artillery foundries on F1 through 4, and it's not as long to easily continue making units while you're pushing and microing. I can't stress enough how advantageous that is. Here, this is a decent flank. I'd still like if he had 1 mortar here, just controlling this, keeping him contained, keeping him from building up. Always good. Can never be bad to just have 1 mortar on someone's flank. It's so annoying to deal with. Milky should have sent musket damage and musket hit points earlier. Always keep up on your cards. As they're coming in, send them. It's always good to be ahead in upgrades. His muskets right now have more damage than Milky's and more hit points because he hasn't been sending the upgrades. Milky should be winning. He has 25% more hit points because of the church tech, but he's not abusing it because he's 15% behind in upgrades. Always keep on top of that. And next, for having 15% HP and damage from the combat cards and 15% from the damage and HP cards is 30%. That's another industrial upgrade. So advantageous. Milky's doing a good job of just sustaining pressure, and now that he's got his mortars out, he's shelling this, and he's forcing his opponent to decide, I have to be on the flank, I have to get his forward base down, or I'm going to lose. But there's no reason there couldn't be a mortar here, shelling this. There's no reason there couldn't be a mortar here, shelling as well. There's no reason he can't just have mortars on the field shelling while he keeps his army here, and he keeps making organ guns instead of calves. I mean, it's important to have calves, but 1 or 2 organ guns keeps this push at bay, because he can't just push directly into it with muskets, they'll die. Guys are still about even. It's a very close game between them. Milky should be ahead in score because he's British, but he's been distracted on his macro. See, all these sheep, that's a good 6-7k of food right there if he gathers them all. And he needs to have more town centers so he can replenish his villas so he's not at 77. You want to keep rebuilding villagers so that you can keep your economy up. If they're not building things, you can just put them on mills, you can put them on wood, you can put them on coin, and you can keep getting economy. It always gives you that little edge up. if your opponent doesn't do it, you get the advantage. Milky is actually losing at this point now because he's just not focusing on that economy factor. And also, Portuguese has defender's advantage. What do I mean? Their army is pretty much all ranged. Sure, they have Huss, but their Huss aren't that good. Their strength is in their ranged units. Keeping these organ guns out, these casts out, these muskets out, gives them the advantage because it allows them to just sit back and defend at range, where their units are best. British, though, isn't to be underestimated at range. Longbows are insanely good. I would rate them as one of the best skirmisher type units. Maybe even the best, period, now that I think about it, because Abyss guns don't do nearly enough damage to dragoons. Longbows decimate dragoons. It's not even funny. Here, these Huss don't make sense. They're fulfilling no real goal. It would be better to have the Huss trying to go for these mortars, or just making more muskets and longbows. He should have pulled those longbows back as well,